or on Twitter at @KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
He fires, and it is caught for a touchdown. It's gone! And Giroux's got it! And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. Are you kidding me?
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio. Another Tuesday evening to talk Philadelphia sports, and right now, especially the Philadelphia Eagles, after they win another nail-biter of a game this past Sunday that you would think that when they were up 34-7, it should have never become a nail-biter of a game, but nevertheless, it did become a nail-biter of a game. And you know, today we'll break it down on the Tyler Werner Show, and definitely look forward to the big rivalry game with the New York Giants coming up this Sunday this Sunday night before the Eagles head into their bye week. Get some much needed rest for some of their players. Starting with quarterback Nick Foles, who still I think has been a little banged up. There's a little bit of audio I want to play in a little bit, actually of last week, with Sal Paolantonio actually talking to Nick Foles, or talking about Nick Foles, how he was in the locker room with him last week leading up to the game against the Rams, and how Nick Foles has been banged up, his left shoulder, and obviously there's you look across the board, and Foles continues to be a bit of a concern with this team. Now LaShawn McCoy, obviously one of the big stories of this game was how leading into this game was would LaShawn McCoy have a breakout game and kind of get back to form a little bit. I know, they ran him into the ground definitely this game, and he got, a ton of carries. He didn't quite have a huge game by any means, but I guess, some are saying, I guess he had some baby steps towards, I guess getting back to the kind of productivity that he would have last season. Although he's still having trouble consistently getting 4 or 5 yards a gain, and averaging 4 or 5 yards. He's still getting stuffed behind the line of scrimmage, and obviously this offensive line for the Eagles is still recovering from some of their injuries. Obviously they got Lane Johnson back from his PED suspension, and I think to some extent that helped him out a little bit. They're still missing Jason Kelce, who is one of the best centers in the league, and obviously that's still hurting them. They still obviously they're missing Kelce, they're missing Evan Mathis, and it seems like that they're not going to get those guys back until sometime in November, if all goes well. So I mean, you still got about a month until maybe you get those guys back. Hopefully they get them. Hopefully they get this offensive line, back and healthy before they start. Definitely by the Thanksgiving game with the Dallas Cowboys. As you know, their last several games of the season, I mean, they finished with 3 divisional games, and they have the Cowboys, and they have the Seahawks, and they have the Cowboys again, Redskins, and the Giants. And really, I think those games right there, amongst the other games, I think is really what this Eagles season is going to come down to. It's hard to believe that they're 4-1. I mean, obviously, most of us, I think that were realists heading in this season, did not expect that this team would be, 4-1 at this point in the season as they take on the Giants this coming week before they head into the bye. Now, I think I would have had them, about 3-2, I think, obviously. But, I mean, at this point right now, to me, records, to me, it just doesn't matter, really, what the Eagles' record is. Now, in the press conference the other day, Chip Kelly mentioned how, we're fortunate that we're working from 4-1 instead of a 1-4 record, and that he was asked, people have been talking about how, is this Eagles team, is this a soft 4-1 or is this a legit 4-1? And I mean, maybe it is a soft 4-1, however you want to look at it. Right now, I mean, I'm kind of beyond the fact that they're 4-1, because if you look at the rest of the NFC right now, the entire conference, there's only, well, first of all, there's no winless teams in the conference, which is, pretty ironic this early in the season. And of course, now there's no undefeated teams in the conference, as well as the rest of the NFL. The Cardinals and the Bengals were the only two undefeated teams up until this point in the season this week, and both of those teams lost this past weekend. So, already, I mean, it's through 5 weeks, there's no unbeaten teams. You look in the NFC, and put it this way, I mean, the only two teams that have not won more than one game has been the Washington Redskins and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the St. Louis Rams, I guess I should mention as well. So there's only 3 teams in the conference right now. The other 13 teams in the NFC have all won 2 games or more. So by no means is, I mean, this conference is pretty wide open as far as playoff spots can go down the stretch here. I mean, I'm sure in the next few weeks there's a couple teams that are, there's a couple teams that may fall off the map, and in a few weeks from now, I don't know, maybe in a few weeks the Minnesota Vikings, they're 2-3 right now. I don't know, maybe in a couple weeks they're 2-6. I don't know. And there's a couple of other teams that could just fall off the map the next couple of weeks. Maybe one of those 2-win teams. I don't know, but certainly, I mean, right now, you look forward. I mean, the Eagles are 4-1, yeah, but I mean, right now, to me, that doesn't matter. I mean, nobody expected the Cowboys to be 4-1 at this point, or at least I didn't expect it. I'm sure a lot of other realists going into the season didn't expect the Cowboys to be 4-1. Maybe they didn't expect certainly the Cowboys to win the past 4 games, and the Giants to win their past 3 games. So I mean, obviously those two teams are in the NFC East riding win streaks of their own, and the Eagles, yeah, they're 4-1, but I mean they just continue to show flaws here. I mean, it's hard to believe how this game even began. It felt like we were in the twilight zone when the game began, because the first defensive drive for the Eagles, I mean, it's a 3-and-out, and they block a punt and return it for the touchdown. Just like last week.
Oh my God!
The irony of that. And you start wondering then at that point, does this mean that the Eagles aren't going to score at all on offense once again? And all kinds of jinxy things like that. But so you had that. Obviously, special teams. Of course, you got Darren Sproles returning punts, pretty efficiently, like you would expect him to, and amongst other good things with this, the special teams unit. Obviously, Cody Parkey, a reliable kicker, and Alex Henry, former Eagles kicker, as we were heading into this season, basically blew the game-winning field goal last night and was basically cut. So he's his NFL career is in doubt right now. So it's it's very interesting how that kind of went down with him getting cut from the Eagles, and already he's cut from the Lions after blowing that game, basically that field goal. So yeah, I mean, special teams, everyone's bringing up how each week like they're special teams is really helping them out, and but I mean they're not. You can't expect them to block punts every week and get special teams touchdowns, and you can't. Again, I mean, a fumble return for a touchdown by the Eagles defense this week. So right there you got some bonus points essentially from the sides of the ball, other than this Eagles offense, which will continue to be a big topic of discussion as they hope to get this offensive line back in full as soon as possible. Really, as it's my theory is that it's there's a bit of a trickle down effect on the running game and on Nick Foles, his health, and amongst other things on this offense. But again, I mean, some of these better teams that they're going to start playing against, they're not going to get defensive touchdowns and special teams touchdowns every game. So that's something that has to obviously be in the back of everyone's minds. As the past couple of weeks, they've either been saved in the long run because of special teams and defensive touchdowns, or they've been in the game only in the first place because of that kind of stuff. I mean, that's the San Francisco game there, but I mean, really, right now, I mean, we're looking at the obviously the offense and how they can improve. And the defense, I mean, they were playing pretty well for the most part. I mean, they were obviously it was against the third-string quarterback Austin Davis, third-string quarterback here. I mean, they're drawing dead a little bit here on the depth chart, but they got a decent back in Zach Stacy when he went down during the game. So I mean, all game long, I think the defense was, they were dialing up some blitzes, and they were pressuring this young kid, Austin Davis, who definitely had some ability, and they managed to get to him. They caused him to fumble a couple times, and which the Eagles would recover. I mean, this game was turnover city in a sense for much of the game. And of course that went both ways, because the Eagles also turned the ball over a few times, which we'll get to. Obviously we'll get to that as it comes. But the defense, I thought most of this game, Billy Davis dialing up blitzes. They were doing what they had to do for the most part, and they didn't really give up too much. I mean, until the end of the game, obviously, when I think it hurt them that they took the foot off the gas pedal, so to speak, on defense. I mean, all game long, the blitzes that they were calling and everything, it was obviously helping them out, because if they're not getting pressure in the quarterback. Again, I mean, it just continues to show. I sit here and say it every week, but if they're not getting pressure in the quarterback, then you got, Kerry Williams and Bradley Fletcher are cornerbacks out there just really stinking it up this season. And it just continued to show in this game, and especially late in the game when they, and this is kind of to Billy Davis's fault. I mean, obviously they won the game, but this defense, I think, in conjunction with some of the sloppiness on the offense, they almost let the Rams come back and beat them, And I mean, that would have been, that would have been outrageous. But I mean, even though this is a win and it's, a 4-1 record, you listen around and there's a lot of concerned Eagle fans out there, despite being 4-1 right now. And it's obviously, I guess part of that has got to be that the rest of the division, with the exception of the Redskins, is, I guess overachieving right now, and is on, riding 3 and 4 game win streaks for the Giants and the Cowboys, respectively. There, so I mean, obviously that doesn't make matters any better when those teams have past few weeks they've been looking like more complete football teams than this Philadelphia Eagles team. And again, I mean, you got the Giants coming in here to Philadelphia this weekend on Sunday Night Football. I mean, huge game, and it can definitely tell a lot about this Eagles team. I mean, the offense, again, they continue to have some issues. The defense, I mean, again, I don't know why you would put the secondary. I mean, knowing that the secondary is as weak as it is, maybe with the exception of Malcolm Jenkins, who's been pretty reliable this season in the secondary so far. I mean, our cornerbacks are have been awful this season so far, and I know maybe you thought at 34-7 you had the game won, but I mean, I just keep doing what you're doing. I would, if I was out there coaching that defense, I mean, keep doing what you're doing, because I mean, up until that point, I mean, the Rams were getting owned by this Eagles defense for the most part. With the blitzes they were dialing up and the pressure they were getting, they're not quite the front seven that's going to get natural pressure time in and time out. But the blitzes they were using, everything like that, they were working for most of the game, and then they took the foot off the gas pedal, and it kind of exposed the secondary there a little bit and put them in a bad position to give up 3 straight touchdowns. Some of those, obviously the offense, which again we'll discuss a little later. The offense was struggling and also having a tough time putting the team in a better position to put the game away. So, it's a combination of things coming out of this game that just, continue to frustrate Eagle fans out there. I've heard them, on other radio programs, sports radio programs, and obviously national sports talk guys around the league, around the country, talking about some of the things wrong with this Eagles team despite being 4-1. So that's really where we're at right here. So another win this weekend, but yet there's so much concern still that looms in the Eagles fan base, and rightfully so. So the way to get in the show today is 610-683-4859, or on the Facebook page, facebook.com/Tyler Werner Show, or on Twitter @Tyler Werner Show. We'll come back on the other side of this break. We got all kinds of other things to talk about, with this team and around the NFL. And, obviously, of course, Flyer season is starting tomorrow night.
Oh my God!
So we'll also look, maybe start talking a little bit about that a little later on the show. So with that in mind, it's the Tyler Werner Show, and it's right here on Kutztown Radio.
Now, class, I need you to write a 3-page paper due at the beginning of the next class. Need to pick me up in the middle of the week? Tune to KUR Tuesdays at 8 p.m. to catch Tyler Fleming host Aces Wild. He'll keep you going as you study hard. Yeah, right.
the traditional light bulb, a groundbreaking invention in 1879. Other groundbreaking ideas from that time, the whalebone corset, the pedal-operated submarine, and the two-story outhouse. We've come a long way since then. It's time our light bulbs did the same. Visit EnergySavers.gov and learn about energy-saving light bulbs. See, these new bulbs are more efficient than the old ones, like a text message is more efficient than a carrier pigeon. They last longer, too, like how we humans last longer now that doctors use antibiotics instead of leeches. And they cut down on our energy costs, because in our own groundbreaking age of aeroplanes and moving pictures, we deserve a light bulb that saves us some cash. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at EnergySavers.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Energy and the Ad Council.
It's 6:24 right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. Talking this Eagles win that this past Sunday night against the Rams that, you think, hearing other people talk about the game, I mean, it seemed to feel like a loss despite it, despite the Eagles moving to a 4-1 record. But, that being because of the, obviously the issues that, continue to hamper this team a little bit. Obviously, one of them being obviously started with the quarterback, Nick Foles. Again, I mean, this year, he's had basically one out of 5 games that you could, really say were up to Nick Foles' par, I guess, of last year. After last season going 27-2 in the regular season, touchdown interception ratio and everything there. But a couple weeks ago, he had what many would say was his best showing in his career so far, showing a lot of toughness against the Washington Redskins, not turning the ball over and getting knocked down all game long behind this offensive line that's been missing personnel throughout the game, and just getting knocked around, getting hit by Chris Baker on the Washington Redskins defense in that whole controversial situation, and it still appears that he's been feeling the effects of that game, at least. Last week I brought up, last week I brought up how he was banged up, still, coming off of that San Francisco game, and this I brought up earlier in the show, a soundbite, I'll play it in a minute here, with Sal Palantonio discussing with Mike Missinelli.
Baby, how you doing, man?
How last week how he was chatting with Nick Foles and some of the effects that he still may be feeling from that Washington Redskins game. And obviously, again, it doesn't help that the immobile quarterback that Nick Foles is. It doesn't help that this offensive line is missing personnel, obviously. And also, another thing is, perhaps they're missing Deshaun Jackson out there. Now, I know Jeremy Maclin has been a reliable receiver, definitely throughout the season. He's been making some incredible catches at times, but across the board though, I don't. He's not quite the guy that's going to get the kind of separation that Deshaun Jackson does. And obviously, Riley Cooper is also not very fast. And, he's a bit of more of a physical receiver. And, he's the first 4 games of the season, he was kind of a no-show. Although he had a few catches this game, and he finally got a touchdown with a nice catch in this game against the Rams. So finally, he's on the board for a touchdown this season. He kind of had and again, he's been dropping some touchdown passes this season, but here, he kind of just, this past week, he just, kind of snatches one that it looks like the defender could have easily have knocked loose, and it's kind of just one of those catches where he just kind of snatches it, and as if to say, no, you don't, and so a nice touchdown there out of Riley Cooper. First one of the season for him. It's about time he gets a touchdown. And Jeremy Maclin this game, another wide open. Well, he's not always wide open, but in this case, a wide open gimme touchdown for Jeremy Maclin. So he continues to be productive. Jordan Matthews, a little, he's a rookie slot receiver here. He's got some growth. Obviously, he was obviously key in the Redskins game when he had 2 touchdowns. A little more quiet in this game. The tight ends, it seems like they're, they were using Selleck a little more in the passing game this week, and this and that, but I don't know. I expected, I would have expected the tight ends to be used more in the passing game. The past few weeks, first couple of weeks, definitely, they used him and Sproles in the running game and screen game more, and I don't know. The past few weeks, it seems like they've gotten away from that a little bit, and I don't know. I'll discuss that a little more, but as far as Nick Foles goes, I think the way he's a little banged up. I think it's a combination of him being banged up. Obviously, the offensive line, maybe he's not getting sacked a whole lot, but then instead he's throwing the ball up for grabs at times, and there were a couple instances here. He's thrown off his back foot when he doesn't need to, and last year, he was criticized for taking a lot of sacks, and I guess they tried to get that it in his head in the offseason, maybe to get rid of the ball more, and at times, he's threw a couple other balls in this game that could have been intercepted. He had the one that was underthrown, an underthrown deep ball to Jeremy Maclin. You can't underthrow a deep ball like that, or else, the defender, it's basically the defender's for the taking. And in this case, Foles got picked off. And that's, I think that's been one of Foles' weaknesses. He's not a deep ball guy. He just doesn't have that kind of arm. And deep balls are not his strength. And, I think obviously it showed on that play. Now let me get this audio up of when last week with Mike, leading in this game when Mike Missinelli hears from Sal Paolantonio about Nick Foles being banged up and how it may be also affecting his mindset when he's out there playing quarterback.
Maybe they look forward too much to the Giants and they get caught in this game and get off to another slow start.
Well, coming off a loss, I don't know if that'll happen, but
no, I don't think it will either.
It's kind of a safeguard that they have to play better, and they played against San Francisco. Well, what about this? 2 questions I have. The Rams have a formidable front. Now, they haven't been able to stop the run for some reason. So, what are the Eagles facing here in this game?
Well, the Rams are the number 1 blitzing team in the league. They have blitzed on 50.7% of the dropbacks this season. That's by far number 1. The Eagles are at number 4 at 46%. So, both of these teams have a tendency to blitz, although the Eagles didn't blitz last week. But St. Louis is so reliant on their blitz. They're doing everything they possibly can to get to the quarterback. And the one thing that I want to see from Nick Foles, I think, was what Chip Kelly said on Wednesday. Chip Kelly revealed something on Wednesday. Actually, two things were revealed. One was what I saw in the locker room with Nick Foles. I don't know if you guys talked about it on your show, but I reported on SportsCenter that he has a huge bruise on his left shoulder that he showed me. Did you guys talk about that?
No, we did not.
Yeah. On Wednesday, I'm in the locker room, Mike, and I go up to Nick Foles' locker, and I'm just chatting with him because it wasn't a day for him to talk. And I said, what's going on? And he said, I got to get healthy. And I said, what do you mean by that? And he lifted up his shirt, and he showed me a softball-sized black and blue bruise on his left shoulder. I mean, it was big.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went into the training room, and he goes, got to stay on the field, got to keep playing. So,
yeah, now that's I thought that from that Washington game that he would be banged up like that, taking it to the next game. So that explains a little something.
He didn't have an MRI, he didn't have an X-ray.
Yeah.
But Chip Kelly at the press conference said what when he was asked about Nick Foles' accuracy? He said he's got to set his feet. There were times when he did not set his feet. You know what that is a euphemism for? He's a little gunshot.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting rid of the ball too quick. Worried about getting hit. Why is he worried about getting hit? Because his shoulder's all messed up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, and why is his shoulder all messed up, and why is he getting hit? Well, they're not doing a very good job of protecting him.
All right, so that was last week with, leading up into the game. Last Friday, leading up to the game. So I mean, I guess apparently Nick Foles, has had this what they said a baseball-sized bruise on his left shoulder.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I mean, now it's not his throwing shoulder, but evidently, I mean, he doesn't want to. I guess he wants to protect himself when he gets hit, and I guess if he was like turning into a run, that'd be the stiff arm. Typically, you carry the ball and you're like say a running back. So I mean, protecting yourself with the I guess the left shoulder and taking hits on that left shoulder. I mean, again, Nick Foles' play right now, I mean, he just, I guess it can be a combination of things. And, unfortunately, he's not the guy that is just, I guess, going to win a game single-handedly. He's not going to do it with his legs or anything. He's not, he doesn't have, obviously, some of the skills that some other young quarterbacks have, like Andrew Luck. He doesn't have a rocket arm, and he also just maybe doesn't have the receivers that get a ton of, I guess, separation. On a consistent enough basis. I mean, obviously, it may come down to Chip Kelly and some of the schemes that he plays. I mean, again, that one touchdown. He found Jeremy Maclin wide open, in the seam, and so I mean that was a, an example of maybe scheming and maybe scheming your way out of a problem there, and getting a guy who's not Deshaun Jackson open for a touchdown. So I mean here and there, I mean I guess they'll get some kind of separation, but. Not on a, obviously maybe not the kind of separation that Deshaun Jackson often got for this Eagles team last season. So, I mean, that might be part of it. And, right now, I mean, Foles' confidence to some extent might be shattered when you have, the offensive line has had its obvious issues and he's banged up. He's trying to protect himself. He's trying not to get sacked, and it's putting him in some bad situations where obviously he's not gonna, he's not really gonna be able to get out of the pocket fast enough, and make a play with his legs unless there's a wide open lane, and there was a case of that, of course, late in the game, and he fumbled the ball because he couldn't. I guess he didn't, he doesn't know how to slide, and, that's a bit unfortunate. he just had one of those plays that, he goes down, he kind of goes down, rolls down like he would occasionally, and he fumbles the ball in the process, and because I guess because it was not like a technical QB slide. I mean, that counts as a fumble, and he does. He still has to be touched by contact, and he wasn't touched by contact. He fumbled the football, and it was, kind of just one of those, unfortunate turnovers, really. And
How's everyone doing?
yeah, I mean, I'm sure the fans in attendance there were really upset about that, and just the way the game was coming down to the wire, when you would have thought at 34-7, they're going to finish out the game, maybe run out the clock a little more. I mean, I know Chip Kelly has this whole thing with, burning out the other team's defense or whatever, and not huddling up and this and that. But I don't understand it. I mean, it seemed like they were late in the game here. I mean, it seemed like they were doing something in between that. I mean, instead of letting the play clock run down to 2 seconds or whatever every play as they're running the ball, it seemed like they were somewhere in between. Like they were snapping the ball at 12 seconds or something, and it seemed like they were doing something in between, their typical, boom boom hurry up offense and running, just running out the clock and snapping the ball down, at the 2 second mark, and eating time away from the clock. It's hard to fathom right now. We're running into the next break again. So, we got some other things to get to in this coming, the next segment of the show. Obviously we have the on-air fantasy football teams to pick. And I got to say, I made a bad move last week, picking the Cincinnati Bengals defense, which basically ruined the game for me, and I have to take the loss this week, as the Bengals gave up 35 points to the New England Patriots, and pretty much for the most part, that was the standout reason here for me, that the pick that lost me the game here for the first time. So I'll have to try to pick it up this week and not hopefully pick a better defense, and hope that somebody like Tom Brady just doesn't come out of the woodwork and tear the defense apart or something like that. So yeah, that's that. We'll pick teams coming up in the next segment, along with the Tyler Werner Show call out of the week that we'll have to get to as well. So with that in mind, it is the Tyler Werner Show, 610-683-4859, right here on Kutztown Radio.
It's Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us.
What was the first spacecraft to be successfully launched by the United States? Hello, I'm Samantha Biastri. The Explorer 1 was launched on January 31st, 1958. This was the first successfully launched United States spacecraft. This mission followed the first two satellites the previous year, which were the Soviet Union's Sputnik 1 and 2. This began the Cold War space race. The space race was a competition in the mid to late 20th century between the Soviet Union and the United States for supremacy in space exploration. The Explorer 1 carried instruments for the study of cosmic rays, micrometeorites, and for monitoring the satellite's temperature. The Explorer 1 was the first spacecraft to successfully detect the durable trapped radiation in the Earth's magnetosphere. The data that was collected was transmitted continuously to NASA's headquarters, but collecting the data from outer space was only limited to those times when the spacecraft passed over the appropriately equipped receiving stations on the ground. The data was also processed slowly due to the fact that the satellite's constant spinning transmitted into a lower kinetic energy state. A kinetic energy state is the energy that an object possesses due to its motion. The mission ended on March 31st, 1970, when the Explorer 1 burned up upon re-entry over the Pacific Ocean. The Explorer 1 is the first of the long-running Explorer program by NASA. An identically constructed flight backup of the Explorer 1 is on display at the Smithsonian Institution's National Air and Space Museum, Milestones of Flight Gallery in Washington, D.C.
Telescopic Topics, a look into the world above us. Stay tuned to KUR for more telescopic topics, and for more information, or to hear this segment again, click on the Telescopic Topics icon on the KUR website at www.kutztown.edu/KUR. Telescopic Topics is a production of the KU Physical Sciences Department and is recorded by KU astronomy students in the studios of KUR. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
The 644, right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. 610-683-4859 is the number to get in. After the Eagles, you know, with their win, I guess, this past week, that they almost coughed up. And, I mean, there were, you know, articles all over the place that, you know, kind of pointed out, you know, just the concerns over this team. You know, from the quarterback to the run game and the defense at the end of the, you know, secondary, and, you know, kind of just everything, really. I mean, but anyway, we got to start soon picking our on-air fantasy football teams. Last week, yeah, like I said, I mean, with the exception of the Bengals defense, I mean, you know, I had Aaron Rodgers, who had a good game, and, you know, amongst other guys, but, you know, that Bengals defense pick, you know, killed me, and I had to take the loss this past week. So yeah, I guess so. Congratulations, Fleming. You won a game, and
finally,
yeah, and you know, you came out of the woodwork a little bit, and I have to see if I can get back on a winning track here. And, you know, also it's interesting to see who plays who this week. I mean, because obviously, you know, some weeks you can have guys on the bye that you can't pick, and, you know, amongst other things. So let me get the schedule up here for this coming week, so that I can, I guess, you know, now I can make the first pick for this coming week for the football picks for the fantasy. So yeah, let me hold on a second. Let me get everything set here on this computer. And all right, let's see here. As far as position goes, I guess I can pick anything I want to start off, and I think to start, I'll start off with quarterback, and I think I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go Peyton Manning to start off against the Jets. I think they're riding a 4-game losing streak now. They've had problems, so I'm gonna take the Peyton Manning of the Denver Broncos as my quarterback pick.
That's a very smart pick, especially since the Jets got shut out this past week by the Chargers.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers.
So that leads me to pick my quarterback, correct?
Right.
All right.
Last week he had Breeze.
All right. Speaking of the Chargers, I'm going to go Phillip Rivers because of his performance against the Jets.
Yeah.
I think they face Oakland, am I correct?
Yeah,
All
they do.
So it should be pretty much the same odds.
Yeah, pretty much. Rivers playing like a pro, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
All right, now your pick.
All right, I'm going to go tight end next with Julius Thomas. He's had a couple he's had a pretty good season. He's got a couple touchdowns, so hopefully that transitions over to this week as well.
All right. Let's see. Last week I had Gates, who had a good week, but I can't take him. As far as other tight ends, I mean, Jimmy Graham, Gronkowski, they're on buys this week, so you have to get a little creative here. As far as tight ends goes, I guess Browns have been. I don't know. They've been a little interesting. I'll go with Jordan Cameron from the Browns, taking on the Steelers at home this coming week. The Browns have been an interesting team. They've been comeback kids in a sense. First game against the Steelers, they almost came back to beat them, I think, but they have a rematch against them this time in Cleveland. So, yeah, we'll see how Jordan Cameron does for the tight end position. And now I'll take the next pick before we take a break from taking picks. And I think I'll go with the all-important running back position. I had Lynch last week, so I can't take him. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a lot of, there's some teams on the bye that just, wish you could take. You know what? I'm gonna go Arian Foster and the Texans, taking on the Colts at home. Colts defense isn't necessarily their strength, and Foster had a decent showing against the Cowboys this past week. So yeah, I'll go Arian Foster there for the running back position. And now it's your pick. You had DeMarco Murray last week.
Yeah, I'm going to steal your pick from last week, Marshawn Lynch. I believe they face the Cowboys this week.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm sensing a trend here.
Yeah. Hopefully, yeah, that's it for the picks for now. Yeah, hopefully, Seahawks at home, at least for the Eagles' sake. If the Eagles have they have a chance here this week to, I guess to take a decisive lead on the division. I don't know, get some momentum going here. Because obviously they have a chance to beat the Giants here, make the Giants, put them back down to 3-3. And, maybe give more hope to the Eagles fan base if they beat a team that's been decent the past few weeks in the Giants and, maybe, obviously take a 2-game lead on them. And then the Cowboys, they got to travel to Seattle and, Seattle at home. So, obviously it's a tough situation for the Cowboys. The Cowboys, they could make it interesting. Certainly, but I would think the Seahawks will beat the Cowboys, and so it could definitely be an opportunity for the Eagles here to, maybe retake the lead and get some momentum going. For their sake, it's good that they're that they've been winning games despite missing players in the offensive line and despite struggling here and there and needing some, touchdowns from special teams and defense to keep them in games and to help be the difference in the long run in some of these games. That's definitely been important, but again, in the second hour, I'll definitely get into more of this with how the whole NFC conference stacks up right now. I was also thinking of doing like a little, like a power rankings in just the NFC right now. Just to kind of, put everything into perspective with how the rest of the conference is. As I mentioned earlier, there's only 3 teams right now through 5 weeks that have less than 2 wins. And there's no teams that or that haven't won a game in the NFC yet. Obviously, the AFC, it's a different story when you got the Jaguars and the Raiders winless still. But the NFC, it's a little different, and it's very across the board. It's pretty. There's so many teams right now that could possibly rise up and be a wild card team if they don't win their division, and it's just across the board. It's competitive, and certainly it's hard to believe that right now the NFC East, the NFC East and the NFC West have some basically an equal number of wins, I believe. I think technically the NFC East has more wins, although they didn't have anybody that was on the bye yet, so that kind of shakes it up a little bit. But it's hard to believe that right now, this division that everybody expected to be really bad is so far they're not so bad after all. And just goes to show you that for the Eagles, it's not gonna. This division this year is not a walk in the park like it was last year, and that's obviously part of that due because of the rest of the division is overachieving a little bit, and the Eagles have, despite winning, they've looked bad, and they've got some tough games ahead. Certainly the other teams in the division have tough games ahead too. I mean, starting with Dallas and having to face Seattle in Seattle this coming week. Obviously, that's a tough one. So, there's some tough games on the horizon for everybody in this division. So yeah, that's really where we're at right now. With I guess looking forward a little bit.
It's time for Tyler Werner's call out of the week.
I just think somebody owes us an explanation, that's all. What's the matter with you? Loser! You're a loser! Are you kidding me?
Well, I have a microphone, and you don't.
So you will listen to every word I have to say!
Now this week for the call out of the week, normally oftentimes it's a player or an athlete or something. Sometimes but sometimes it could be it could even just be a fan. I mean, this week the call out is it's somebody, actually a good friend of mine actually, who on Facebook, I know maybe he's not gonna like this, but on this show he goes by Batman Wayne, and that's a whole story in of itself of why he goes by Batman Wayne, but he hasn't posted to the show in a while. He used to every now and then he's posted some stuff to the show, some thoughts on the show to talk about. But after the game on Sunday, he posted a rant. I guess. He admitted it himself. It's a rant, and he said, I understand that not everyone agrees with my views on this team, but there's some details that I want to, just, call out and I guess criticize in a sense, if you want to call it criticize, but maybe a call out in a sense that, just, some things, we can calm down on a little bit here. Let me get into the rant here. As an Eagles fan, it is time for me to say this because no other fan of this team would say, or no other Eagles fans will say this, but this Eagles team is not very impressive. And well, I agree they're not very impressive, and I didn't expect them at this point to be very impressive. And it's so far. Obviously, I follow that. You could make a valid argument that last year's team was not very impressive, but this year's team is worse than last year's team because they have no deep threat due to no Jackson. So now, yeah, somewhat true. I mean, last year's team also started off 2-3. I mean, I'm not getting into comparisons of records here, but certainly they had issues last year, early on in the season, and down the stretch they managed to put it together. They don't have a deep threat due to Deshaun Jackson. Now it says it goes on to say they really have no reliable receivers this year, mainly due to Noah Fant. Now to me right there, that's where it gets a little silly, only because I think Jason Avant. I don't know. Look up his stats for Carolina, and they're pretty pedestrian compared to, say, Jeremy Maclin, who I've said, I said earlier, and I've continued to document that Maclin has been a reliable receiver. He's not like the deep threat Deshaun Jackson is. He's not the really speedy guy, but certainly Maclin has been reliable. You can't discount that Maclin is, at times he's kept drives alive because of very nice catches this year. He's got 25 receptions, over 400 yards. I think 4 touchdowns so far. So he's playing so far at a Pro Bowl caliber level, definitely. And Avant, he was a reliable third down receiver here. For now, they got Jordan Matthews, a young guy who in the future, I would think that they hope will evolve here as a maybe a pretty reliable second receiver, maybe to Jeremy Maclin. But Avant, Avant was, is a classy guy, but he's, compare Macklin's production right now with Avant's this year, and you do the math. This team also has no running game, an inconsistent quarterback, no offensive line. Offensive line very banged up, obviously. Inconsistent quarterback, running game. We'll continue to talk about that. Again, a trickle down effect to some extent from the offensive line being banged up. Now Sproles, I don't know. Maybe if they mix it up more with him again, I want to talk more about the run game a little later in the show. But hopefully they can. Hopefully McCoy is finding his feet, and we'll start looking a little more like the LaShawn McCoy last season, especially when they get their whole offensive line back. And a laughable defense. Definitely a laughable defense when, for example, they're taking the foot off the gas pedal, against the Rams this past week, and the secondary gets totally exposed. There's some guys, definitely with some potential, in the front seven, to be decent players, definitely, and get some pressure. But let me get down here a little more. Because there's a lot of things that, Batman Wayne says in this, that is true, obviously. That the Eagles are not very impressive in this and that. But he really, really calls out Chip Kelly here. He says, finally, I am calling out Chip Kelly and demanding that he modify or change the offense. If he does not, then he should just go back to Oregon or the NCAA. Chip, you try to change the way a team practices and plays in the NFL, and you are failing. Oh, you might win the division or a few playoff games, but at the end of the day, you will not win a Super Bowl with this Oregon offense, and as an Eagles fan, that is the only thing I care about. Well, here's the thing. When they hired Chip Kelly, they didn't expect him to win a Super Bowl after 2, I'm sure Jeffrey Lurie, and, including myself and many other, realist fans out there, would hope that by, year 4 or 5, maybe the Eagles will be in the Super Bowl or in winning one. Hopefully around that time, or be at that level. Let's not. We had Andy Reid in here for 14 years, and it seemed like his tenure lasted longer than it should have. Now we can't be, especially after a 4-1 start, even though it hasn't looked pretty, and a 10-6 season last year, which was, getting to the playoffs and, even just getting to the playoffs last year was a total bonus after a 4-12 season with Andy Reid. And here, if they're 1-4, obviously there'd be a lot more to call out here. But the bottom line is they have room to improve. They have potential to improve. And you can't, obviously this is the NFL. And, Chip Kelly, hopefully he's got to learn that, and slowly he may be learning some things that it's not college in a sense. And down the road, especially, when you look at, in 3 years from now, you'll really be able to see whether or not Chip Kelly and, has adjusted to the NFL and, because it's not just all about Chip Kelly's offense. It's also about, just building a team in general. And, I don't want to go on too far because we have to get to the next break here. But the bottom line is, in a few years, if this team is underachieving, if this team has not built a Super Bowl contender, then certainly the fans will have a reason to be upset. But right now, I can't sit here and say that, Chip Kelly's failing right now and that he's never going to win a Super Bowl. I don't know. He can learn, and he can, there's some things that adjustments maybe he'll make along the way, and if he doesn't, then, the bottom line is he'll probably get run out of town if this team is underachieving because, his ways are not clicking and getting them to the Super Bowl and winning one down the stretch. So that's really where we're at here. You get, some patience, and especially when they're 4-1 right now, and there's still a lot of season to be played here in year 2 of the Chip Kelly era. All right, 610-683-4859. Be right back after this on the Tyler Werner Show.
KUR Kutztown.
Radio voice of Kutztown University, KUR.
What are the different ways I can tune into KUR?
Well, there's 1670 AM.
Streaming online at kur.kutztown.edu.
At select times of the day on Service Electric Berks Channel 24.
Hometown Utilicom, Channel 28.
And Service Electric Lehigh, Channel 266.
Or on your smartphone using a free app like TuneIn.
Or on any phone simply by dialing
610-465-7860.
KUR can also be heard in select campus buildings like the MSU, Rickenbach, Stratton, Rec Center, and Keystone at 88.3 FM.
Nominated for Best College Radio Station at an institution with under 10,000 enrollment and winner of Best Use of Social Media, your news leader in northeastern Berks County, KUR Kutztown.
The KUR news time is the top of the hour. I'm Mike Regensberger. The Senate has adopted a resolution recognizing this week as Fire Prevention Week in Pennsylvania. Senator Rob Teplitz speaks with KUR and talks about the resolution.
This resolution recognizes the week of October 5th through 11th, 2014 as Fire Prevention Week in Pennsylvania. Fire Prevention Week commemorates the Great Chicago Fire of 1871. It was first designated by President Woodrow Wilson in 1920 and is the longest-running public health and safety observance on record. The National Fire Protection Association organizes this national effort. The association has announced that this year's theme is Working Smoke Alarms Save Lives, Test Yours Every Month. On average, 3 out of 5 home deaths occur in fires where there are either no smoke alarms or no working smoke alarms. The majority of home fire deaths are preventable, and working smoke alarms play a big role in helping save lives. There are many steps that we can all take to prevent fires and protect ourselves in a fire emergency. It's imperative that we all do our part to remind the public of the importance of having smoke detectors in the home, checking them regularly, and changing the batteries.
Experience a new kind of electronic music. World-class acrobats groove on the scintillating beats of DJ Buckin, while Circus Electronica takes audiences of all ages deep into the singularity. As technology and the human experience merge, witness high-flying acroballet blend seamlessly with electronic dance music in a revolution that is leaving audiences stunned. Weidenhammer presents Circus Electronica Sunday, October 18th at 7:30 p.m. at the Santander Performing Arts Center. Tickets available to Box Office, Ticketmaster, or 800-745-3000. Checking KUR Sports, it'll be a Thursday night, a rare Thursday night home game here at the University on Thursday night. 7 o'clock game time for the KU Golden Bears football team. It'll be on our friends at WLVT PBS Channel 39, as are all home games. Monsoon Mike says after some midweek storminess, some dryness, and then some more storminess at the end of the week. For late-breaking news, weather, sports, and traffic, sometimes before we can even get it live on the air, make sure you like our award-winning Kutztown University Radio Facebook page or on Twitter at KU Radio. From KUR News, I'm Mike Regensberger.
Any views or opinions expressed on KUR are not necessarily those of Kutztown University, Kutztown University Student Government, Kutztown University Student Services, Incorporated, KUR staff and management, or other affiliated organizations.
It is 7:09 right here on the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio, and it's time to go around the league a little bit here after another pretty interesting week in the NFL, and give my top 5 impressions around the league. Starting with the Dallas Cowboys, who they win their 4th straight game this past week. I guess I don't think any other team right now is riding a 4-game win streak in the league, and the Cowboys happen to be the one that is doing that right now after they beat the Texans 20-17 in overtime. J.J. Watt and that defense, it took them to overtime, to decide this game, and the Cowboys would come out on top. Cowboys may have the best offensive line in football, so give them some credit there. They continue to be impressive. And the Chargers at number 4, just they shut out the Jets 31-0. The Jets, they bench Geno Smith in the game, and they bring out Michael Vick, and they couldn't get anything going here, and if I'm not mistaken, I think now the Jets are riding a 4-game losing streak. On the other hand, from opposite from the Cowboys there, so things not looking good for the Jets right now. And the Chargers, they just on offense they continue to tear it up, and obviously on defense they hold the Jets to nothing in this game. So Chargers looking like one of the premier teams in this league, and could challenge the Broncos this year in that division, definitely. So that number three, the Packers. Obviously you gotta give Aaron Rodgers some credit there. The Packers, they just destroy the Vikings 42-10 on Thursday Night Football. It seems like every week on Thursday Night Football, whatever game it is just a total blowout. And this was this was no different here. The really shocking thing here is Aaron Rodgers only had to throw or complete, 12 passes, I think it was, to really to win this game. And a couple weeks ago, he told everyone to relax, and after losing to the Lions, and certainly the Packers look like they're back in full form right now, and they got an easy schedule coming up. So I would assume that they're going to continue to tear it up like they have been. Number 2 is the Bills. The Buffalo Bills just upset the Lions this past week. With Kyle Orton at quarterback, I might add. Kyle Orton's like, 34, 30, I don't know, he's been a backup for a while now, and, he elevates them to a 17-14 win. Again, Alex Henry misses a crucial field goal that cost him the game, essentially, and after the game, the Bills' defense carries their new defensive coordinator, Jim Schwartz, off the field, who, of course, was the coach of the Lions last year, and certainly the Lions organization did not like that. The team, the Lions team, after that game, so that was a spectacle, I guess you could say. And number one, the Patriots bounced back to beat the Bengals decisively, 43-17. Everyone, people really calling out last week, the New England Patriots and their offense that has been struggling. And, I mean, here in this game, I mean, of course, Donovan McNabb last week, he said, if their struggles continue another 5 or 6 weeks, Brady might get benched for Garoppolo, and
I'm embarrassed.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen anymore after that showing against the Cincinnati Bengals that were coming off of the bye. Obviously, they've had a pretty stellar defense in recent memory and so far this season, and Sunday Night Football in Foxborough, they just they come out and they just lay an egg against the New England Patriots and fail to remain unbeaten, and in my eyes definitely lost a lot of slack after this week. And looks like the Patriots are now on the right track, as guys like Rob Gronkowski continues to get healthier. He kind of had another bust out game of his, and the Patriots, Tom Brady coming back and looking like the Tom Brady that we all know well, and these guys figure it out. I mean, Brady, Belichick, they've started slow like this in past years a little bit, and they get it together, and I'm sure as usual down the line they'll be a contender, perhaps once again in the AFC Championship game, unless maybe the Chargers or the Broncos or somebody else has something to say about that come playoff time. But again, I mean, Brady seems to be getting it together, and kind of like Rodgers, seems to be getting it together. Obviously, telling everybody to relax the other week ago, and since then has been nothing short of one of the best quarterbacks in the league, like we would all expect. So that's that for now. But definitely our own quarterback, Nick Foles, who looked like one of the best quarterbacks in a sense last year, has not looked like the quarterback that we would have expected him to look like at this point in the season. And again, I mean, I go back to the Sal Paolantonio remarks earlier, his observations. We'll play a little more from earlier. Actually, earlier today, we'll play some audio from Nick Foles in a press conference after one of their training sessions today. He's wearing the old red practice QB jersey to for obvious reasds, but
let's make some noise. Come on.
Yeah. We'll definitely listen to that a little later. To him, primarily because I don't know, Chip Kelly's press conference the other day after the game, I mean, it was just kind of blunt, and I don't know, just kind of general at this point, and I don't know, just not. I don't know if it's worth spending time on the show listening to, but Foles, I mean, I think we want to hear a little more because he's definitely being called into question here. Now, again, I mean, you had the interception, the bad interception, the underthrown deep ball. But, of course you had that fumble where, he's going down because I guess he just doesn't know how to slide. I mean, last year, I guess we saw him at times he would attempt to slide. I guess, I don't know, it did not look very fluent at all, I guess, when he would attempt to make a slide, and it just looks like he would kind of just try to sit down. I don't know. It's hard to even explain really, and but in this case, he goes down to the ground, kind of sideways, I guess, and loses the football in the process. A key turnover. I tweeted on Twitter, that maybe they want to. I know he's not a running quarterback, but maybe they want to invest a little time in trying to get him to learn how to slide or something. I don't know, or at least maybe just at least attempt to do. I guess what he would attempt to do last year when he would, kind of that sit down, very unorthodox looking slide, I guess you could say, however you want to put it. But that, that's that. And I don't know if I know after the game, I think they obviously they asked them about that play in the press conference. With Nick Foles. What was going through his mind there, and I don't know. I think he said he feared that somebody was coming from behind to tackle him, and I don't know. But again, I mean, he could maybe benefit from learning to slide in some form. I mean, he had the first down there. I mean, that's so I mean, you gotta you just slide, you learn to slide there, and you're good. You don't worry about, and you don't fumble the ball unnecessarily, and because have it go against you because you didn't do the quarterback slide. So I mean that's really that for now. 610-683-4859 coming up on another break. So we'll get back to some. Well, you know what? I want to take a little detour after the break and talk a little Flyers. Before we get back to more Eagles, because the Flyers season starts tomorrow, and obviously that's obviously something that people out there are excited about. Basketball, Sixers preseason has started, even though nobody's expecting the Sixers really to do anything right now. So that we'll talk that stuff right here on the other side on this. This another Tuesday edition of the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio.
You're listening to the radio voice of Kutztown University, KUO.
Attention December graduates. KUSSI is sponsoring the Fall 2014 Graduation Festival on Tuesday, October 28th from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. in the multipurpose room of the Student Union Building. The Graduation Festival is a one-stop shop for all of your December graduation needs. You will be able to verify the status of your graduation application, purchase your cap and gown, receive graduation tickets, order your class ring and announcements, and much more. The festivities will include giveaways and a chance to win one of our great graduation gift packages. All December graduates must attend the Fall 2014 Graduation Festival. If you are unable to attend this event or would like more information, please contact Matt Lothar, the Student Services Coordinator for KUSSI, at 484-646-4338 prior to the event. Congratulations, it's time.
.722 right here at the Tyler Werner Show on Kutztown Radio. Talking, definitely, obviously, as always, talking Eagles and NFL. And right now, we'll talk a little Flyers, because they have obviously the first game tomorrow against the Boston Bruins. talk about a tough game to start the season off against. Obviously the Bruins, one of the premier teams in the NHL, and throughout the month of October, Fleming, I have a trivia question for you here. I don't know how familiar you are with the Flyers schedule, but in the month of October they have 10 games. Now out of these 10 games, I want you to guess, if you don't know already, how many of these games are against playoff teams last year?
Against playoff teams last year, I'm going to say 6.
6. All right. Well, let's go. Let me go through here. The Flyers and Bruins, that's one. Devils and Flyers. The Devils were not a playoff team last year.
No, they were not. Thankfully.
Now, I asked you that, but I already know what the answer is. So, all right, now Saturday they got the Canadiens playoff team.
Okay.
Next Tuesday they got the Ducks playoff team. The Saturday after that they got several days in between games there. They got the Stars, another playoff team. Tuesday, this is game number 6. They got the Blackhawks. Wednesday, the Flyers, they got the Penguins. The Saturday after that, they got the Red Wings, who are, of course, as of last year, now they're an Eastern Conference team. The Tuesday after that, they got the Kings, another playoff team. And then the last game of October, on October 30th, they got the Lightning, another playoff team.
Man.
So basically their first 10 games of the season, the month of October, 9 out of 10 games are against playoff teams last year.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure that's bewildering a guy like Steve Coates, but obviously, yeah. I mean, tough start to the schedule. Definitely, they got a tough stretch ahead. Obviously, the Bruins, tough team. The Ducks in the West. The Western Conference was, pretty strong last year. The Canadiens, and so a lot of Blackhawks, Penguins, Kings, defending Stanley Cup champions. I mean, a lot of these teams, they're not just like mid-level playoff teams. They're like perennial, cup contenders. So it's going to be definitely an interesting start to the season. And I asked you, Fleming, like what do you have, like just general overall thoughts, like expectations? How far do you see this team going this year?
I see them going to the second round of the playoffs.
Second round? All right. Yeah, I mean, that's definitely possible. I think, they might, record-wise, they might finish around where they were last year.
I agree. But yeah. I think they're getting stronger defensively, which is one of their major weak points last season.
Yeah.
Even though it was still pretty strong, it was nothing against the Rangers. They just chewed them apart in the first round. So I think with the stronger defense, and I think they got another sniper in their lineup, right? If I remember correctly. Or did they send Morin back down?
They might. Well, I don't know. They may have sent him back down. I can get the current roster up, but obviously, yeah. I mean, on defense, yeah. I mean, obviously, Kimmo Timonen has had his heart issue or whatever, and he obviously he was debating on retiring this year. He's like 40 years old now, but so yeah, this defense. I mean, they look a little younger, I think, and so obviously Mark Streit is the oldest guy on this defense. He was pretty decent last year. Yeah, as far as snipers goes, I don't. They might have. I don't know if they drafted a young guy, but I don't know. I mean, they got a lot of. We'll see if maybe Jacob Voracek, he continues maybe to come along a little bit, and Claude Giroux, Wayne Simmons, LeCavier's getting up there in age. He's not getting any younger, but at time he got banged up sometimes last year, and certainly I'm sure they're looking looking to see some more progress from the young Sean Couturier. I know they've had some high hopes for him, and we'll see maybe how he comes along. So yeah, I mean, it should be an interesting season. But yeah, definitely there's it's going to be a tough start to the season. Obviously, 9 out of 10 teams being playoff teams last year. It's it'll be interesting to see how they come out and start. Obviously, last year, I mean, they started out pretty bad, and they were able to turn it around and become a playoff team. But we'll see if they can see how they come out against some of these tough teams. Definitely in the early going of the season here. So yeah, that's that for now. And next week on the Tyler Werner show, we'll be able to talk a little bit of Flyers action, as they'll have a few games under their belt, and so we'll see how they look. And of course, the Eagles' bye week is coming up soon, so yeah, we could definitely definitely be able to mix in some more Flyers talk, and maybe Sixers talk if there's anything. I mean, obviously they're a building team, and it's kind of a wait and see for them, really. I mean, as far as the Sixers goes, so a lot of people expecting them to tank the season once again this year, and stock up some more guys in the draft next season. Coming up in the spring, and hopefully build a championship team down the road. So yeah, that's where we're at right now. Now, getting back to the Eagles, before we play some Nick Foles audio from earlier today, where Foles coming after the training session, sporting the red QB practice jersey, where you don't tackle this guy in practice for obvious reasons. Listen to him, but I wanted to get to the run game, I guess, specifically of this Eagles team right now. Obviously, they seem to kind of run LaShawn McCoy, into the ground this game. He got a lot of carries, a lot of opportunities. Now there were still like 9 runs out of his staggering amount of carries this game that went, that were only a yard or fewer. I think the mindset with LaShawn McCoy, I mean, he's still trying to, he's trying to bust out that huge run. And I mean, he had a couple runs in this game where you kind of saw the LaShawn McCoy of old. He had like one nice 20-yard run, where he made guys miss and this and that. But I don't know. He seems to look a half step slower this year. After a very productive season last year, where it was used an awful lot for obvious, obviously, no surprise as to why they, but I think that many are agreeing, with this, is he's got to have a little more patience. He's got to, take the 3 or 4 yard gains and wait for the. I was listening to like Brian Dawkins, the other day, talk about this, and Brian Westbrook, talk about he's got to kind of just wait for that big opportunity to come, and not try to force it, and take the 3 or 4 yard gains early in the game, and those bigger opportunities will come. LaShawn McCoy, obviously, before the season started, he said he was going to run for 2,000 yards this season, and maybe just sounded maybe overconfident. I mean, that's something that would is hard to believe and hard to do. I mean, in this league, that's and then again, I mean, some people would also say, well, he doesn't. He leaves that 20-cent tip a month ago or whatever it was, and And, now it's coming back to just totally jinx them. And that has a lot to do. I don't know. But, the bottom line is, from a technical standpoint here, without all the superstition and this and that, he doesn't have... Obviously, last season, the offensive line was intact and was very, very good last year, the entire year. And this year, obviously, that has not been the case. And it's certainly, it's hampered him a little bit, with Sean McCoy. And now when I'm watching this game, I had this observation and maybe this theory, and again, you can always call in the show at 610-683-4859 or tweet at Tyler Werner Show on Twitter, and see what other people think of this idea. But I'm watching the game, and late in the game, they don't really use Darren Sproles that much until later in the game, it seemed. And I get that. Sproles is not the guy that's gonna get 25 plus carries like LaShawn McCoy will in this game. But they could maybe spread him out. Maybe get him close to 10 carries this game. He's not, because Sproles is a guy that he just finds the hole quickly, and you saw this when now. I don't know. There's been some mixed reports on this, that running backs coach Deuce Staley pulled him out late in the game for Darren Sproles. I heard there was one report that actually LaShawn McCoy himself pulled himself out of the game there.
Yesterday I did pull out.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like a Tiger Woods situation there, but I don't know. I heard this morning Les Bolin reported that Deuce Staley pulled him out of the game and they wanted Sproles in there, and they didn't think that LaShawn McCoy was going to get the short gain or whatever they needed on third down, and I don't know. But when they bring Sproles out, and it's my theory is that when they all game long, they were pretty much running LaShawn McCoy down, or at least attempting to run him down the Rams' throats. And suddenly they bring out Sproles, which for basically all game they hadn't really used him too much, and they start handing the ball off to Sproles, and suddenly it's like a total like the defense maybe was just not ready for Sproles, and they weren't ready to adjust to Sproles, who's he's just really fat. His acceleration is just like second to none in this league, and even in his 30s now. But he's unlike McCoy, McCoy's going to shift around and try to find his way and make guys miss. Sproles is just right away. He's just going to go straight for the hole, and for the most part, just go straight up the gut whatever direction he's going. And I think if maybe they in the future, maybe this coming weekend against the Giants, maybe they alternate a little bit between that a little more often. I don't know, and maybe this helps LaShawn McCoy out a little bit. Maybe it throws the defense off. You got two different running styles there. You got the shiftiness of LaShawn McCoy, and then you just got the straight ahead Darren Sproles acceleration and speed. And then you use Sproles a little bit. Then you bring back out LaShawn McCoy and give him more carries and this and that. And I don't know. It seems like when they bring out Darren Sproles, the defense is maybe thinking, they're going to do a screen play here, or pass the ball, and use Sproles in the passing game, and not really hand the ball off to him. There's even with this offensive line being kind of weakened right now. Certainly, I'm sure the running game will be more effective. once they have the whole offensive line back. But I mean, for now, I mean, they got the bottom line is these next few games still they got to do without having their entire offensive line, and that's just a little note I took in this game that they brought out Sproles after LaShawn McCoy carry after carry throughout the game, and so the defense, they just didn't look ready for the different style that Darren Sproles brings, and again, I mean, maybe that's something that they could use to their advantage here against the Giants. Maybe a little more alternation between McCoy and Sproles. I mean, you don't have to give Sproles as many carries as LaShawn McCoy, obviously, but maybe they spread out some more carries for Darren Sproles here and there throughout the game. I think that's basically what I'm getting at here. That's maybe a little trick there they could use, and maybe use LaShawn McCoy a little more in the passing game as well. I feel like they haven't done too much of that when I think McCoy can still be effective in the passing game. Certainly, some of the screenplays that they've run. Certainly, last year they ran some effective plays with LaShawn McCoy getting some passes thrown his way. Maybe they could do that a little more often. Maybe see what they can open up. Maybe get back to some of the things they were doing in the first couple of weeks, even though Foles was not, looking incredibly sharp even then. Certainly, I mean, I don't know. Maybe get the tight ends more involved in the, in catching passes. I mean, that's something I kind of expected them to do more often. Especially after Ertz had a decent showing the first couple of games, and I don't know. It seems like they kind of abandoned that a little bit, and I'm not totally sure why, but I don't know. It's just a few suggestions here, because obviously, Nick Foles is not the same quarterback right now. Not to say that down the stretch he can't be better. That with the whole offensive line back, he can't maybe look a little more like the quarterback of last year that everybody expected him to come out and be this year. So, and we'll hear a little audio on the other side of the break. So, 610-683-4859 is the number to get in, or at Tyler Werner Show on Twitter if you want to tweet the show and share any thoughts about what we've talked about up until this point here on the show. So with that in mind, it's the Tyler Werner Show right here on Kutztown Radio.
Tune in to Notice Latinas Sundays from 1 to 2 here on the radio voice, KUR, for the best in Latino news and commentary and music as well. It's Notice Latinas Sundays from 1 to 2 right here on KUR, the radio voice of Kutztown University.
Kutztown University's Department of Information Technology recently launched MyKU Mobile, which can be accessed at mykumobile.kutztown.edu. MyKU Mobile provides a quick way for students to view grades, financial aid information, announcements, and schedules, all from your phone. The new site also integrates with social networking sites, enabling students to post their schedules on Twitter and Facebook without ever having to use a computer. Make sure to visit myku.kutztown.edu for the best way to view MyKU on your phone.
.41 on the Tyler Werner Show, right here on Kutztown Radio, as we discuss the Philadelphia Eagles. Of course, the Philadelphia Flyers starting their season tomorrow. Look forward to that. As we've had, obviously, I'm not going to complain that all we have had lately is football. Obviously, you can't complain about that, but disappointing Philly season, and you got basketball season. Nothing truly to look forward to as far as winning goes for the Sixers this year, but at least the Flyers, another team that should compete at least in the mix. So that's always good. Now, again, this want to listen to this some of this Nick Foles audio. Again, it's new to me, so here's some things that Foles had to say just hours ago, right here on the Tyler Werner show. So let's fire this up. Oh, we gotta. Now it's not even starting. It's sometimes you get these stupid computer issues, and then
What is going on back there?
Well, let me reload the page here since I had it ready earlier, and paused it, had it ready to go, and now it just wasn't. That's not. Here we go.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're going at it, and you're just trying to make a play in the game, and I was trying to get down, trying to get a couple extra yards, and ball came out. But I'm going to keep playing aggressive. I'm going to play smart, obviously, but things do happen in the course of the game. That was one that you don't want to happen, but I'm going to keep playing aggressive.
Hey, Nick, what did the tape show you past Sundays?
That we're continuing to progress. We definitely we're in spurts, and we want to be more consistent as an offense. But I saw us moving in the right direction. We just have to come out here this week, make more corrections, and then continue to work on execution, continuing to stay inside the chains. We don't want to hurt ourselves. We continue to establish the run game, me be precise in my throwing, and continue to work together as a team. All these games have been team wins. We played together as a team. We've had big plays on special teams and defense, and the offense has made some plays, so we just have to continue to grow.
What's going on with that deep ball? Why isn't that working?
I've just missed on a few. That's it. We'll continue to work on it, and I'll hit some.
Is it your feet, or what do you think?
No, it's just one of those things where you just got to keep working it. Everybody's going to try to pick and choose, but if anybody has ever thrown a football or gone out there and received, it's one of those things where you just keep working it. I'm going to keep giving our guys opportunities. I'm going to pinpoint a little better. I'm going to hit some more underneath stuff, try to help them out, and we'll execute it. We can't be afraid of throwing the deep ball. I'm not afraid to throw the deep ball. I'm going to continue to, I've always liked throwing the deep ball. If you play quarterback, you love launching the ball, you love letting it loose, and you can't let the start of the season not being good at it scare you away from it.
Your strengths last year, though, throwing the deep. What's been the difference this year? Is there something you can point to?
Yeah, you just got to execute. We just got to continue to work towards it. We have to, giving them a good ball, let them make a play, and, them going to make a play. It's us continue to grow together as a quarterback and receiving core, and that's what it's all about. We're not worried about. We're going to continue to work. We come out here every day. We work on the routes. We work to get better. You see us in practice throwing fades, working on placement, and you just keep working it. You can't be afraid to not, go out here and do it. You can't, just because you haven't done it well yet, you can't be afraid of it. You have to keep working towards it.
When you talk about being precise with your throws, your completion percentages dipped this year. You were 64 last year. You're, I think, 59-1 this year. Why do you think that is?
I've just missed a few throws. I've missed 5% more throws, and that's something that you want to continue to grow each week. You want to be more accurate each week. You want to be a better player each week, and that's what I strive to be each and every day, is just grow, just being consistent. And I think that's the big thing in this game.
Well, you think that's happened? Plays, it looks like you had quite a few where you pulled the ball and were able to hit some screens, quick throws on the perimeter. Was that something about how the defense was playing you, or why were those a little more relevant this week?
Just how they were playing me. Maybe they're bringing an extra guy in where I can get the ball out there with great numbers. Maybe they're at a certain depth where I feel like we can get some yards out of it, or maybe break one. And it's just one of those things where it's a gut instinct, and you obviously want to have a reason why, so you just want to get favorable matchups.
Were you happy with the decisions you made on those when you watched them on film? Were you happy with the way you...
The quicker screens and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am, and I want to continue to recognize it even more in those situations.
You're relatively young, and you don't have a ton of experience, ton of starts. Do you find yourself learning a lot every week about learning how to be a starting quarterback in this game?
Just learning how to be a player, absolutely. I'm young, but I'm learning a lot. I'm taking it all in, and I know, you just try. That's what you do. You don't want to let this thing get too big. You don't want a couple of games where you don't play like you feel like you can get too big, because I know that I'm going to continue to grow. I feel like, I'm growing each and every day with what we face in the game, what I face, the adversity. You can't teach that on a practice field. The adversity you face is in the game, it's in life, and you have to continue to grind through it. And that's what's great about our team, is we face adversity throughout the year, and it's, we're building a culture here where we can stick together through the course of the game. Special teams is making plays to keep us in. Defense is making some big plays. we got some things going on offense, and then when we need to stop at the end, defense comes up big, and that's because of the culture sticking together and believing in each other, and that's something that you learn by working together each and every day.
Do you think you're getting better week to week? Do you see that?
I'm progressing. I'm going to continue to learn. I think every day I live, I learn more about myself. I learn more how to be a better person, be a better player. I might not go out there and have the stats that are perfect or anything, but I'm going to keep working towards it. I'm going to keep working to be the quarterback I know these guys want me to be, and I'm going to keep excelling. That's all I know is keep working, keep grinding, and don't let things get to me.
All right, so yeah, there you go. Another rendition of positive outlooks there by I guess Nick Foles.
How's everyone doing?
Yeah, I mean, continuing to grow as a person every day, and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, the press conference. I mean, I think it seemed like they started off by asking him about that fumble the other day, and I don't know. I mean, I think it's kind of funny how people have like said he looks like Napoleon Dynamite out there, and I was thinking like after he fumbled that play, I mean, the people that have seen the movie, I guess would get this joke, but after Nick Foles fumbled that, Nick Napoleon Dynamite Foles would fumble that. He probably said something like, "God, I'm such an idiot." I don't know, but that's my my sad attempt at humor for the day. But anyhow, I mean, Nick Foles. I mean, he continues to have a positive outlook. He's not the I don't know. He's got that kind of Napoleon Dynamite vibe, I guess, and I don't know. I mean, hopefully he comes out stronger against the Giants here. Hopefully his shoulder's recovering, and that big size bruise that Sal Paolantonio observed, and just everything. I mean, because he's not the most mobile guy in the world. He's not he's not Russell Wilson. Like, if you watch Monday Night Football last night and saw some of the plays he was making, I mean, it's just Russell Wilson. And to think that Andy Reid a couple of years ago, wanted him, and they just, they didn't get him. And,
it was like sweet and sour pork.
Yeah,
right?
It's just one of those things. Like, what if we got Russell Wilson and against the Redskins last night, and some of the insane plays he made and makes on a continuous basis. But the bottom line is, Nick Foles has flaws, and they gotta find a way to work around him, I guess. And obviously one of the big flaws right now, the offensive line has been having issues, and it's kind of created more issues around the rest of the offense in a sense. And it's a big game against the Giants this week, really. I mean, I mentioned earlier. I mean, they can. My point is here right now is they're 4-1, and I don't think that right now. I mean, it's kind of meaningless to me that they're 4-1, because again, you look around the rest of the NFC, and it's obviously they've only played one division game. They played they beat the Redskins, who. The Redskins, they put up, I guess they gave it all they got last night against the Seahawks. But, they're 1-4. They're really going to have a tough time competing in the long run and finding a way to get a playoff spot. So, I would count the Redskins out after that loss last night. It's going to be pretty hard for them down the stretch, but the rest of the division, the Giants are on the upswing. And if the Eagles lose to them this weekend, 4 straight wins for the Giants, and, they're right there with the Eagles, and they're essentially tied and would have the advantage of the Eagles because they, obviously they would have beaten them. And they closed the season against the New York Giants, too, as well. 3 straight division games to close the season. There's all kinds of other games. The Eagles have to go to Green Bay. They host Seattle on their schedule. Obviously, they still have the Arizona Cardinals after the bye. You know, and amongst some other tough games, you know, the Houston Texans. You know, Carolina won't be a walk in the park. So there's, and I mean, you look at the rest of the division too. They have, you know, the Cowboys and Giants. They're gonna have some tough games. So I mean, really, this, you know, right now, I mean, there's so much that can happen, and fortunately, you know, the Eagles have some time to improve. They have time to get the rest of their offensive line back. They have time, you know, obviously they can get Michael Kendricks back. Of course, D'Amico Ryans went down in this game, but it sounds like, from what I've been reading, that he will play this Sunday against the Giants. You know, kind of the quarterback of the defense. So I mean, that's kind of important. So you know, the bottom line is there's room for improvement for this Eagles team. I think more so than, you know, if there's going to be some good news here about, you know, even though we've talked a lot of bad about the Eagles today, you know, I think some of the good news is that they have room to improve. I think more so than the Cowboys and the Giants. You know, everyone says how, you know, sometimes you got to peak at the right time, and I don't think the Eagles have peaked yet. That's the thing. I mean, they haven't looked great at all for the most part. No, they have not looked impressive. Now they've had moments, certainly. You know, Foles against the Redskins, and obviously Sproles at times has his moments and this and that, but they haven't looked as complete as the Cowboys and the Giants in recent weeks, and that's been a concern. But then again, I mean, the Cowboys, they have one of the best offensive lines in the league, and they haven't had an injury bug, whereas the Eagles had, and the Eagles can get back some key players, certainly to help them out down the stretch. So you know, that's really where we're at right now. You know, the Eagles, big game against the Giants this week, and you know, right now, I mean, I can't pick it right now today. I mean, it's still 5 days out, and there's so, again, this Eagles team. I mean, there's just, you know, so many directions they could go. I mean, you know, I just don't know. I mean, does Shady have one of these bust out weeks again? You know, and runs in a couple touchdowns or this and that. I don't know. You know, does Sproles get some big plays? And I mean, does Foles go back to looking like himself, looking like he did against the Redskins? I don't know. I mean, football's a game of matchups, and we'll see how they match up against the New York Giants this week. And obviously the defense, we'll see if, you know, see if they can maybe get the pressure on, you know, blitz Eli Manning, get the pressure on him, and go back to making him look like he did in the very beginning of the season when the Giants looked like, you know, like absolute trash, like they did in the preseason as well, and kind of like we would have thought they would most of the time this year. So
So you got to see the game again. With Nick and the wide receivers, what do you see there? There's a lot of targets and not a lot of catches through 2 games.
Yeah, we had a few drops at the wideout spot. We also had a couple balls that probably could have been placed a little bit better. So, they got to come up with the catches, and we got to place the ball a little bit better.
George in particular has had a couple drops. Is that just normal growing pains for a rookie, or is that something he's really got to clean up?
No, I just think he did it. You watch his first game when he came out against Chicago. He had a couple drops, and then bounced back big in the second preseason game against the Patriots. So some of it's just concentration, fingers, tips, eyes to the catch, make sure you're tucking it away. Just little fundamental things, but not anything that we're concerned about.
Are defenses giving Foles different looks than it did last year, or what are you seeing that's going wrong
I think
when it does go wrong?
people are pretty straightforward in terms of what they've played us in the first 2 games. So, we got a lot more zone against in the Jacksonville game, but that's kind of their MO. I think we've saw predominantly a 4-down nickel front the entire game against Indianapolis. They did a good job of mixing up man and zone, but it was nothing that we haven't seen before.
Is it just fundamental stuff then when he is misfiring?
It's a lot of things. I mean, there's a rush. Sometimes he doesn't have a chance to set his feet, so he gets pushed off his mark a little bit. So it's always a combination of there's not just one thing. If there's one thing, and then it's easily correctable. But if there's not just one thing, you got to kind of work on everything. So sometimes the pocket gets collapsed a little bit, and they get walked back into him. Sometimes he needs to step up a little bit when it's a wide outside rush. There's a lot of combinations of those things. So
what do you think it says when guys like Nick and LaShawn and Macklin all say, we could be playing better and stuff, and yet you guys are still leading the league and, points scored and offense and all that?
I think they're very honest in their assessments, and they understand that they can improve. So it's, no one should be patting themselves on the back in anywhere. That, we're fortunate to be 2-0. We've done a great job of coming back in both games, but there's a lot of work in every aspect of the game that we need to work on. So and that's a great thing about this group. They understand that.
As you watched the last 5 minutes of the game from the interception on, what stood out to you in particular about that rally there?
I don't think anything stood out in particular. It's just kind of what we trained to do and how we played is what we expect our guys to play like. I think they have a good sense and understanding of what we're trying to get accomplished, and they don't panic in those situations because we've tried to, as a staff, to put them in those situations from a training standpoint so that they've been through that before. So, it's really just go back to your preparation. And we say it all the time is no one rises to the occasion. You always sink to your level of training, and, that's how we trained. And you heard our guys talking about it after the game. This is no different than period 22 on a Wednesday or a Thursday for us. So.
How does the addition of Jenkins kind of manifest itself on film? What do you see from him? You guys sounder back there?
Yeah, I think obviously there's a little bit more. There's a guy back there making the calls and being distinct in terms of getting everybody set back there. But he always seems to be a knack for making big plays. Came up huge again last night. Is around the ball, made had a couple pass breakups, tackles. Just what we expected when we got him here. We thought he was obviously our top target, and I think it's paying off for us right now.
What has Zach Ertz done in terms of being such a viable option downfield as a tight end?
I just think there's a lot of matchup things when you have Zach. So if you do choose to play man, you have to man everybody. You just can't man the 2 outside receivers. So if you do, I think our inside receivers, himself and the running backs coming out of the backfield, become matchup problems too. So the quarterback always in man situations is trying to find his best matchup. So I think he's got some unique qualities that he's tough for a linebacker to cover, but he's also hard for a DB to cover because he's 6'5". So there's a kind of a catch-22 in terms of how you're going to defend him.
To Zach's question, do you think when the defense 2 weeks in a row seems to be playing better as the game goes on towards the end, you took a quarterback famous for his end of the game heroics and 3 and out of him. Do you think that's as much conditioning as adjustments at halftime?
I think it's a combination of everything. I think there's a feeling out process how people are going to play you. They ran the ball, I think, a little bit more than we thought they were going to run the ball in the first half. So you got to make some adjustments from that standpoint. But I also think our players, as the course of the game went along, you could see them growing.